All right, y'all. What up? You already know, Dirt Gang. It's your boy, me, Jago. Right. All right. So, I'm eating Popeye's chicken, like the spicy crispy chicken. I'm eating that, and I decided to, finish watching. Don't pick up the phone. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm pretty late, but I've been like kind of like watching it a little bit. Um, I'm in episode 2. I'm like 25 minutes in. It just still blows my mind how this motherfucker could just con motherfuckers into doing shit to where nigga you should know better. Like for real. No matter how obedient you are to the law, whatever feels wrong in yourself feels wrong. And you should back yourself up with that and combat with whatever fuck shit that's gonna happen, right? I'm just saying. Common sense. So yeah, I don't know if YouTube is gonna let me do this, but I'm watching Netflix. Shout outs to Netflix. Don't pick up the phone. Episode 2. You're gonna see my reactions like live. It's pretty much dim. Hold on. Let me see if I can light up the situation. Alright. Alright. We in there, right? Yeah, we in there. Alright. So, oh shit, fuck. I was using my phone as the Roku button. Hold on.
13 times with the call. She can also hear the caller as Alan is hearing him give the directions.
Alright. Roku. Alright, shout outs to Roku. Here we go. Cause shout outs to Roku. What is this? Jeez Louise. My spicy crispy chicken gonna get cold with the fuck shit on this phone. The fuck is Sling? This is my. Excuse me. Aha. Okay. Never give up, yo. What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is never give up. Alright, abracadabra, presto changeo. Shit.
Hear the caller, as Alan is hearing him, give the directions as to what the next step is.
Still
One
warm.
time he wanted her to do jumping jacks so he could hear her doing it and know that I was carrying out the things that he asked me to do.
This hoax went on for 2.5 to 3 hours, which actually enhanced the ability of the caller to groom and condition and take the matters as far as he took them.
You said
His
2 or 3
voice
hours.
sounded very precise, very demanding. I was just like, no, I don't want to be part of this, but I felt that I didn't have any choice.
Wow. Like you was
I
gonna
found
die
the
or
money.
something.
It's like, okay, we should be done. He was saying that now I need to search her for drugs.
Oh,
And I'm
same
thinking,
script.
what? I thought this was about a search for money.
Same script.
And then he continued on with other demands.
The caller actually asked him to do specific things which involve touching intimate areas of her
Touching my
physical.
nipples. Touching my butt and pulling my cheeks apart.
For drugs, it's like, this is a nightmare. I knew I needed to end what was taking place, that I did know. And about that time, my assistant came in. And it's like, oh my God, what did I just do?
Oh. You woke up, huh?
I just got out of there. I went home.
Through
Where was that?
psychological manipulation,
Where was that?
coercion, Alan did something he
Before.
regretted terribly.
I started questioning myself. Is it a con? Was it a prank? What really just took place?
Mm-hmm. That.
In a state of shock.
I can't really deal with the pickles.
And then the next morning I went back down to Hardee's. And there were 2 detectives there, and they charged me with 3 felonies.
Mm-hmm.
2 kidnapping and 1 second-degree rape. Like I couldn't even believe what was happening.
For real? Like you just gonna clock back in, get back to work. Like no, like yesterday didn't happen.
Alan was a victim.
You gonna see Shorty, say what up.
Perhaps the most
Not even say I'm
critical
sorry.
feature of our case was that there was a camera that recorded the entirety of the 2.5, 3 hour strip search.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
all on video. The young lady asked at the outset that Alan please cover the camera. He said, no, no, no. He emphatically declined to hide the events in that room. No criminal would want a documentation through video of his conduct. It is absurd.
The trial is pretty much a blur to me. The only thing I remember is me being on the stand and beginning to tell the truth.
He was honest, and that's who Alan was. A jury had to know Alan. They had to see what's inside.
I was unconscious, had no clue what they might say, just thinking, wow, I could spend the rest of my life in prison.
And the judge asked the jury, have you reached a verdict? We, the jury, find the defendant to the charge of rape and kidnapping not guilty.
Wow.
It's like,
Wonder if he was a black man.
because I didn't
I'd
know
know
if there was ever anybody that would believe me, other than my family, of course.
The jury can despise what your client did, but abide by the evidence and find him not guilty. That was the most illuminating example that I've ever seen of that capacity for a juror to make that distinction.
Turned my life upside down. Personal relationships. All they thought is like, how can somebody do this? I don't want to be a part of him. And even a couple of my friends for life exited my friendship. All I would like to say to that young lady is, I'm sorry, from the bottom of my heart, and it's just something that's something that's been a dark cloud over me for all my life.
Oh, speaking of dark clouds.
And the caller, of course, committed the perfect crime because he's completely anonymous. He's 1,000 miles away or 80 miles away, who knows? So the police immediately looked only at the man in front of them. They were uninterested, disinterested in attempting to find out who made the call.
Yeah. 2004. Panama City, Florida.
We're in Panama City, and I'm tracking the hoax column. We realize he's not a cop, and he works in the jail. There's 3 jails in the area. We're going. We're going to the closest one, then we're going to the second one if we have to, we're going to the third one. We hit the first correctional facility, get into the warden's office, open up the laptop, thinking, here we go, it's gonna be so easy. And they look at it and they're like, no, I don't know who that is. They didn't know who the hell he was. So we pack up, get in the car, and head to the second one. I'm getting closer. Somebody will know who he is.
I spent the last 32 years in corrections. June 30th, I was at work, normal duties. Chief at the Bay County Jail called and said that he had some investigators that had a picture and wanted us to look at it. Sure, come on.
We go in to the second jail, go through security, get into the warden's office. We're with the warden, one of the security personnel. I bring up the picture. The warden and the head of security come over.
They showed us a screenshot of a surveillance shot from Walmart in Callaway. It was an overhead shot over the register. And looked at it, oh shit, there's David Stewart.
David Stewart.
And I go, what? David Stewart.
David fucking Stewart.
Fuck. We identified him. I didn't know what to say.
The cops in the room when we identified him, faces lit up because now they have the missing piece. That's David Stewart, so now they know who they're looking for.
I asked the warden, David Stewart, does he work at the facility? And the warden goes, not only does he work facilities,
But I mean, he's here right now.
Oh, get his ass.
you gotta be kidding me.
Let's go get him.
So not only did he identify him, he's in the facility as we speak. I really thought interviewing him again. I wanted the confession. We went to the warden, said we're ready for him. Bring him up.
Get him.
David Stewart was a correctional officer. He was on
3 to 11
second
shift.
shift, 3 to 11. Their main duty is to care, custody, and control of the inmates. Is to make sure they're safe, make sure everybody else is safe.
The warden comes in, the individual behind him was the absolute identical picture in the video. You couldn't miss it. White male, about 6 feet tall, slick back black hair. I introduced
Nigga got a
myself and
mullet.
then I asked him, why did he think that we're down here speaking with him today? And he said, I have no idea. I mean, he's only in there 30 seconds. And he's already very uncomfortable. And I'm like,
Game time.
game time, because I knew
Said it first.
we have him. I said, we know you made the hoax phone calls to Massachusetts and other communities throughout the United States. And at that point, he started to sweat, shake. You think, okay, good. And he said, was anybody hurt? And after that, he goes, thank God it's over. At that moment, when he made those statements, I thought I had the guy, without question. I said, we have you on video purchasing calling cards. He said, but I didn't make the calls. I didn't make the calls. He denied buying any cards. He won't admit it, and he pleads the fifth. So we stopped the interview. Didn't say another word.
You know, when I heard the extent of how big this was, I couldn't believe that how long had it gone on without it getting caught. You know, we're still in surprise and shock at this.
It's too late to do surveillance on David Stewart. We knew at this point we wouldn't be able to catch him in the act. I needed a confession, and he didn't give it to me. This investigation is hanging by a thread. I needed more evidence. So now we go back to Panama City Detective's office, and we say, okay, what's the next step? What are we gonna do? I decide we need to do a search warrant at his house.
David Stewart lived in Fountain, 25 miles north of the heart of Panama City. Fountain is a lot of dirt roads, people living in mobile homes, just won't be left alone. Mind their own business and don't want nobody coming down there messing with them.
Ooh, that sounds dangerous.
He
For a
lives
black
deep
man.
into the wooded area, and he has a trailer, and it's like a small shed on the property. David Stewart had no idea they were going to search the house until he opened the door.
Knock, knock.
Panama City detectives do a full search of the property
Nothing.
and found numerous police magazines.
Okay. One of
He put in applications for numerous police jobs throughout the area. We also found diaries. He was obviously at one point a part-time police officer at some county or a local department, and he put stuff like Monday, April 21st, rode with Brock, chased someone doing 125 miles an hour. Wednesday, April 30th, chased Sergeant 140 miles an hour. He was obsessed with being a police officer. You could tell that excited him.
Oh, yeah, he would kill a nigga too.
You know, it just doesn't help my case. I need to get the smoking gun. They search all the grounds, outside, sheds, then
Boom.
boom, found a calling card.
Dun, dun, dun,
The
dun.
key piece of evidence was a prepaid calling card.
Yikes.
My hope is, can we tie it to Mount Washington? Can we tie it to Massachusetts? Is this the card? You know, that would be like the icing on the cake. My job at this point is to convince the DA of charges. Well, I want him to get charged with some type of sexual assault because I think it fit the elements of the crime. He directed somebody to sexual assault these victims. The DA just thought it was a hoax call, although sick, incredibly demeaning. The DA thought it would be too hard to convict David Stewart of a sex crime since it was just a hoax call and he physically wasn't there. He was on the phone.
Need more
10 years
evidence.
this individual is making these calls. I find him and nobody wants to charge him.
Need more
It's
evidence, my
fucking
guy.
unbelievable. Then I call Buddy Stout, Mount Washington.
I received a phone call from Vic, and I said,
Yeah, he say, she say type
what's
shit.
going on down there? I'm 650 miles away. Is he in jail? Vic says, well, I don't think I've got enough to charge this guy yet. And I went, what the hell you can't charge him? He's at home. He knows that he's being looked at by the police, and you're telling me this guy could skip out and we could lose him?
Ooh.
I have worked my ass off on this case for over 3 months, and we get him ID, and he's gonna walk away.
Out of here.
So I said, we gotta put an end to this shit. And I went as hard as I could go and to get a warrant. And we met with the county attorney, the Commonwealth attorney, and a district judge. And the judge issued a warrant to arrest David Stewart. I called my wife on the phone. I said, honey, have my bags packed. I'm heading for Panama City, Florida. His ass is mad. I'm gonna bring him home. We're gonna have a little justice around here for all the hell he's put us through. I mean, what the hell can go wrong?
Oh, damn. Why you have to say that?
Well, the police think every case is a slam dunk. The police's version of what happened is almost never what actually happened.
You look crazy.
Do I think my client, David Stewart's innocent? I know for a fact he's not guilty.
Alright, just the last episode. What time is it? Can I skip this?
And now to an unbelievable hoax that police say many people fell victim to.
A caller pretending to be a police officer was apparently convincing enough to talk some managers into sexually abusing fast food employees.
If I didn't submit to this search, then I'd be either arrested or lose my job or both.
A couple police officers tell me there's a video of what happened here.
I'd never seen anything like it, and I've still never seen anything like it in 30 years.
And the caller, of course, had committed the perfect crime because he's completely anonymous.
We have a sexual predator on the loose, and the phone's still ringing every day.
And the phone's still ringing every day.
That was on about a 10-hour drive from Florida back to Kentucky. I'm thinking that I've got a guy in the back seat that has pulled this off for 10 years, and by hell, he had got away with causing some pretty awful crimes to be committed. minutes pointing to him being the hoax caller. Nobody else. It was intense at first. We were just talking about stuff in general.
He'd been working as a corrections officer for quite some time in Panama City.
For that, he delivered propane for this propane company. He seemed to be the average guy that you would see, the average Joe on the street. Even his co-workers at work probably thought he was a nice guy. He talked about his family some and asked him how many kids he had, and you know, some of that kind of chit-chat.
David Stewart was not what I was expecting. I was surprised to find out that he was married and had kids.
Oh shit.
I figured he was a lone wolf, you know, sitting in his apartment somewhere, practicing his art. And you know what? Maybe he just told the wife he's working overtime. Maybe he's told her he's working that night.
Is he like two different people and the family don't know the other side of him?
I think David Stewart probably wanted to be a police officer more than anything in life. He went to the academy. He was obsessed with having the power over people, the authoritative figure. I got the feeling like he thought he was one of us. I think it started getting real for him as we're getting closer to Kentucky. We put him in jail, and now I'm thinking, what are you thinking, sucker? You thought you were gonna get away with it, but guess what? Now your ass is sitting in a place 650 miles from home and you don't know nobody. How's it feel?
Damn. God is nice.
David Stewart was charged with solicitation of sodomy. He might not have been in the room when Louise was assaulted, but if he bought the calling card and made the call, that alone is solicitation. He also was charged with impersonating a peace officer. These are very serious felony charges that he's looking at.
Especially the second one.
I felt the satisfaction. He's behind bars. No other victim is going to fall prey to him.
Alright, so
That was a huge relief that we have the individual we believe.
oh, we believe, okay. Cause I'm more like, well, if y'all got him, then why is there 37 minutes left of this shit? Okay.
Made these phone calls in jail in awaiting trial.
After we put him in jail, some time goes by, and then I found out that he's got a big dog defense attorney.
Oh shit. Where that shit come from? The Klan, man.
It was a bizarre case that I'd never seen anything like it, and I've still never seen anything like it in 30 years. David's brother called me and asked me to take the case. I thought it was somebody was playing a practical joke or something
Brother's
on me
a fucking
because
lawyer.
these things were alleged to have occurred over the phone. And if you think about it, it would be very difficult to sexually assault someone over the phone.
But apparently you got these motherfuckers
My
doing it.
initial reaction was, well, you can't do that over the phone. It's not possible under the statute. David's bail was $500,000 initially. This is a guy who's never been charged with a crime in his life. I mean, never had a speeding ticket. And so a $500,000 bond was an extraordinarily high bond in the first place.
The judge set the bond on the warrant, and I think the reason he
Might be a
set it
free
at
race.
$500,000 is because if this guy was to get out and he's 600 and some miles from home,
Yeah.
he might go on the run, he might do whatever,
Yeah.
he'd be a possible flight risk.
Yeah.
It was important that we get a bail that the family could post. Ultimately, I think it was reduced to $100,000.
The next thing I know, got out on bail, he's out of jail and he's gone.
Pew. Sayonara.
I was upset with the fact that he was walking around free, but I'm thinking, okay, take your last walk, enjoy it, buddy, because We'll meet again.
Today we're going to talk about prank calls that take it way too far. In fact, these calls are plain sadistic and cruel. I'm Javier Leiva, and this is Pretend. Stories about real people pretending to be someone else.
When I first started looking into this, it was shocking that there was even one hoax call like this. But then come to find out that there were over 100 calls just like this in 32 states. And it went on for more than 10 years.
There was the Mount Washington case with Louise Osborne that caught worldwide attention.
It was shocking to know that a hoax call could be so sadistic and go this far. It is incredible how long this guy got away with it. God knows how many other calls happened that just weren't reported. So many victims went through these horrible ordeals.
It just shows that people weren't warned about the dangers of the hoax caller.
And I'll tell you, from my research, I traveled the United States and I stopped at different fast food restaurants. And I very casually asked the managers, hey, have you heard of these prank calls that have been happening? And they're like, no, I never heard of it. It was like news to them.
Luna, what the fuck you munching on,
Even
huh?
today, people aren't aware of it, which just shows how it kept happening and happening.
Somebody had to be held accountable for what happened to all these different people.
So at the time, I had no idea this had happened to anyone else, anywhere at all. The manager, he lost his job, but they never officially charged him with anything that I'm aware of.
The Taco Bell was a franchise, so I decided to sue the franchise owner as well as my manager.
It was pretty clear that they were worried about a lawsuit pretty much right out of the gate. They didn't care about her well-being. They were basically gonna make it out that she was complicit in what happened.
My attorney told me that it very well could happen that they would try to attack my character.
From what I understand, they were trying to get the notes from Deborah's therapy sessions to bring those into court. I think it was a ploy to ensure that Deborah wasn't going to testify, and if Deborah didn't testify, there was no case.
The judge and the other attorney, they just sort of blamed me in a way.
The case was thrown out in part because either Deborah wouldn't testify or wouldn't answer the questions that they were asking her. She didn't want to have to recount all of this stuff in front of a room full of strangers.
I was embarrassed. Like, I didn't want to go through it. Like, it was all too much, and I was not willing or able, probably, to do it. The judge said, and actually I have it on my phone, he said that courts should not be used to propagate a culture of victimology, entitlement that degrades the very sense of individual responsibility and hard work on which this great nation was founded. The best lessons learned are usually the most expensive. At tremendous expense, plaintiff will hopefully have learned to think for herself. Basically, shame on you. Hope you learn a lesson. Months later, they kind of just were like, oh, by the way, we found out the caller was a prison guard in Florida, and that was all I knew.
When there's no justice, when the police don't do anything, the DA doesn't do anything, like, it doesn't feel or doesn't seem at all like there's going to be any effort to do anything to dissuade this from happening.
It's the physical actions that they
That's
want.
exactly
The
what happened.
robbery, the rape,
Very flawed
but
system
you can catch
that
the
a very
victim.
healthy percentage of people never get any sort of justice. And
But
never
in the
get
long,
attempted real
long
justice.
run, yeah, the system ain't gonna help like that. Unless you got money.
The criminal trial of
You
David
put money
Stewart
into the
was what
system so
everybody
the
was
system
talking
can help
about.
you out instead
But
of
the real villain here is not just the
putting your money in the
I
system,
mean,
taxes.
what they did is horrible, but
In
McDonald's,
return,
the way
have
they're
the system
just
help you
complicit
out
for
because you pay
allowing
your
this to
taxes.
continue.
You're a
Louise is
law-abiding
like,
citizen.
she's gonna go after the Goliath. She's gonna go after McDonald's, and she's gonna get some kind of justice.
Her name, Louise Ogborn. The company, McDonald's. The two, once employee and employer, now defendant and plaintiff.
All Louise Ogborn wanted was McDonald's to acknowledge that they were culpable in this whole thing. She just wanted an apology for ruining her life.
This could be the first time anyone involved in one of these hoaxes has managed to get to trial. I think Louise was a brave person. Now she's got to go on the witness stand.
Let's seal the deal on this thing.
So Louise Ogborn hires an attorney named Ann Oldfather, and they sue McDonald's for $200 million, and that's a lot of money.
Sure is. And they got it. McDonald's got it.
Searchlight of blame.
They had
and
it.
it's going
They have
on
it.
everybody else
More.
except for Golden Arches.
Ann Oldfather is known for being a fierce litigator.
Your verdict can measure the harm that's been done to Louise in this community.
This was without a doubt the biggest civil case ever tried in Bullock County.
$200 million?
Damn, bitch, that's a lot of money.
I thought the fact that they didn't ask for that much tells you what this case is all about.
No, it's all about you learned your lesson because you gotta pay $200 million. So now you gotta really be strict with these, with your company. Nigga, fuck you mean?
Louisville, Kentucky.
That $200 million lawsuit is, nigga, wake up, y'all
never
fucking
thought
up.
this case wouldn't get to trial because the facts are so bizarre. There was an awful lot at stake.
Here you
Defamation.
have an 18-year-old woman from a small town who's going up against one of the biggest companies in the world. I mean, my thought is that they were going to do everything in their power to make her go away.
Fuck you, eat my Big Mac.
Fox News at 10.
Fuck you, pay me to have you eat my Big Mac.
There's a new development in the legal fallout from a strip search hoax at a McDonald's restaurant in Mount Washington.
One of the private detectives hired by McDonald's was arrested for impersonating an officer when he was serving a subpoena on one of Louise's friends.
There are charges that McDonald's intimidating witnesses, and at least one bailiff hired by the restaurant's chain's attorneys has been arrested.
You gotta wonder if McDonald's strategy was to victim shame Louise Ogborn. They went after her therapy notes, they went after her MySpace account.
Yeah, MySpace.
And I think they wanted to pin this on everyone but themselves.
McDonald's claimed it only had a few documents about the prior hoaxes, but Ann Oldfather did not believe that. And she started researching this and showed how many cases there had been previously and how McDonald's obviously knew of this danger years earlier.
Louise's case is basically that, McDonald's had several of these hoax callers, and how did they tell their restaurants about it? Did they do enough to warn their employees? And their case was that no, they did not.
Before this case got to trial, Oldfather kept demanding documents from McDonald's about these other hoaxes.
McDonald's acknowledged that they had settled 6 cases concerning hoax similar to these. They said that's all they knew.
But Ann Oldfather ultimately got an order from the trial judge threatening McDonald's with sanctions unless it produced what it had.
We had an emergency hearing, and I ordered McDonald's to turn over all of their files.
48 hours before the trial started, McDonald's delivered her boxes and boxes full of information with no time to review it.
Louise Osborne's lawyer has pages, folders, and boxes of paperwork that show McDonald's corporate office knew of more than 24 illegal strip searches at its restaurants across the country.
16 boxes of material from McDonald's attorneys that we haven't even had time to go through.
At one point, McDonald's was implying that Louise was in on the hoax and that she was just trying to get money from the company.
Just come right on over there, sir.
McDonald's got the maintenance guy, you know, the guy who ended the call, the hero who saved the day. They put him up on the stand in court.
Now, Tom, were you at the store the following date?
Yes.
McDonald's made a pretty interesting, compelling case that maybe Louise Osborne was going after the money from day one.
She said she was going to get a big check or some money, and
Has Louise said that?
yeah.
Oh, damn.
Ann Oldfather was able to poke holes in that testimony, but at the end of the day, you really don't know what the jury is thinking.
Why you had to say that? You supposed to be the OG, cuz.
When Louise came out publicly, it really showed, you know, it's not a victimless crime anymore. This could be my daughter.
Would you like to call your next witness?
I'm
Yes,
talking about
Ron.
I'm burning shit down.
You call Louise Osborne?
There was a pretrial motion to allow the jury to view the actual videotape of the assault in its entirety.
Getting tired.
It was a brutal 3 hours. It was hard for me to watch. There was absolute silence in the courtroom. The only thing you could hear was
Some
son of
smacking
the
that
jury's
ass.
cry. You could have heard a pin drop other than for that.
So, what happened when you got back to the office?
She kind of motioned me in.
And you went inside?
Yes.
And then what happened?
She told me that I had been accused of stealing some money from my customer's purse.
Now
I
you
said
gotta
it
suck
couldn't
some
be me.
dick.
I wouldn't do anything like that. You should know that.
And so how did that make you feel?
The only word I can think of is devastated.
She using big words like devastated.
Tell us, Louise, whether you have any fears that come back to you.
I have dreams where somebody was attacking me. I couldn't tell you who it was. I would avoid going to sleep at night. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm hyperventilating. My chest starts to hurt and my arm goes numb.
Dating scene out the window.
Let's not forget that Louise is a victim of sexual assault. How could you not sympathize with her? I mean, it was humiliating. 4 employees saw her at her most vulnerable moment where she was sitting there naked.
Butt naked.
I was doing what I had to do to survive. I didn't know if this was my last day on earth. I didn't know if I'd make it through.
She has been through so much trauma. She will never get that part of her life back. That will always be out there.
Did you think to tell Donna what her fiance was doing to you?
He was still in the room. I was scared of what he might do to me and her if I did. He'd already hit me, beat me. There's no telling what he could have done if I had stood up for myself and tried to get help.
You're really selling it. You're really selling it.
Louise Ogborn and her attorney are claiming false imprisonment. Well, McDonald says, well, that's not true. Nobody physically restrained her. She could have left at any time. The tape shows that you were left alone there in the office for almost 10 minutes. Did you ever go over and try the door?
No, because I thought I couldn't get out.
I'm sorry?
I thought I couldn't get out.
I think McDonald's suggestion that she should have walked out of the room was perhaps a strategic error. To say that a young woman who had been deprived of her clothes and her car keys could have and should have put a stop to it when their own adult employee supervisors didn't.
How could McDonald's ever have anticipated that on April 9 of 04, this guy was going to call Mount Washington? If McDonald's really knew what was going on, then they should have prepared their employees better.
There was a problem here, and they clearly did not get the word out because it kept happening and happening and happening.
McDonald's has taken no responsibility for the strip search that led to Louise Ogborn's monster lawsuit against them.
But they're your
And the
employees,
blame that
though.
everyone else continued throughout their closing arguments.
It's kind of like she was adopting a kid.
Distinguish between what's right and what's wrong and to use their common sense. McDonald's are trying to pin this thing on Louise Ogborn and Donna Summers when in reality it was them who did not warn their employees.
In this case, you see how many restaurants where this had happened and how many of them were McDonald's. And it's really that kind of hits home.
Armed with nothing but their opinions and a list of instructions, jurors are deciding if they should take a financial bite out of the largest fast food chain in the world and give it to former Mount Washington restaurant crew member Louise Ogborn.
The jury comes back into the courtroom. The foreperson of the jury hands their verdict to the sheriff, who hands it to me. This was going to be the largest verdict in the history of Bullitt County, Kentucky.
For a second there, I thought I saw Fat Joe. Yeah, he got like the back shape of Fat Joe's head.
Louise Ogborn under instruction number 9 and award her punitive damages against McDonald's Corporation.
Some serious cash is on the way in another high-profile civil suit. Louise Ogborn was the McDonald's employee who was forced to strip after someone called the Mount Washington restaurant posing as a police officer.
Louise Ogborn was awarded more than $6 million in a lawsuit against McDonald's and others involved in the case.
Louise has stood up for what happened to her and what McDonald's failed to do for 3.5 years, and this jury just vindicated her completely, and we are so proud.
There you go, $6 million, go piss it
I
away.
can't really talk about it when
Go piss it away, $6.1
It
million.
wasn't the supersized award Ogborn's legal team was after, but they say they're more than happy with the money and the message it sends McDonald's.
The jury, I think they got it right. She deserved that, and I felt like that, okay, McDonald's knew this was going on for 10 years and didn't seem to stop it, to get the word out to stop it, so they get slapped with a $6 million bill, maybe they'll think about changing their training.
Or $200 million.
McDonald's is responsible for not protecting their employees. That's the number one thing. If they did it to protect their bottom line, not
$6.1 million to McDonald's, especially at that time, was still like, all right, bitch, here you go, shut the fuck up now.
It was astounding, the fact that McDonald's had been aware of this occurring at many of its restaurants
And the remedy would have been very simple, and I believe this was Ms. Oldfather's, one of her major arguments to the jury. It would have been so simple for McDonald's to simply notify each of the stores. Put up a thing by the telephone, put up a sign that said there's a hoax caller. If this occurs, don't do anything, it's a hoax. But they did not warn their employees.
Do you think McDonald's tried to cover this up?
Oh, no.
I'm not gonna comment on this.
I think what was shocking about the civil trial was the details of how many fast food joints were involved and how many settlements had happened that people didn't know about. You know, it's not just McDonald's. It almost seemed like there was an effort to keep it quiet. Whether that happened or not, we don't know. But I think there was a feeling that that's what was happening.
We probably all individually had the feeling that this was only us and felt stupid and dumb about it. So you could probably interview 99 of those 100 women and they would feel like singularly responsible and foolish.
Just knowing that there are more people than just myself, like that helps a lot.
It wasn't just that they weren't stepping up and informing people or providing better training or even some kind of a warning or acknowledgement. And the question is whether they were actively hiding it. It wasn't just about them. At the end of the day, the hoax caller needs to be made to pay for his actions.
People were humiliated everywhere. They believed that David Stewart was connected to all these other cases, these fast food cases, whether he was or not. His name was linked to them all.
David Stewart went back to Florida on a lowered bond, and that's where he remained until they had a trial date set. While Stewart's out and enjoying being back with his family, I'm trying to get to make sure I got the I's dotted, the T's crossed. I'm thinking, okay, you will take your last walk into the courthouse and hopefully right on over to corrections and that'll be the end of it.
The criminal trial starts in October of 2006, and it is a huge deal in Bullitt County. You've got news crews from all over the country following this story of a young woman who was sexually assaulted inside a McDonald's because of a hoax caller.
Prosecutors said they traced prepaid phone cards allegedly used in the hoax to David Stewart, a former Florida prison guard.
Everybody wanted to know more about David Stewart. Where did he live? Was he married? Did he have children? He was a husband and a father of 5.
Damn, son.
And they couldn't find anybody to say anything bad about him around his community. People liked him.
He made the call or calls. I absolutely feel that he needs to be made to pay for this. I was all stirred up and like, you know, give him hell kind of attitude. Because to me, I was so personally wronged and it was awful.
This was the biggest case that I'd had. The night before the trial, I'm thinking, all right, the day's finally here. And hopefully, you know, everything goes right. I think I've got an airtight, air-sealed case.
At this point, I did my job. We have a great case. We've now submitted it to the lawyers in the trial courts of Mount Washington, and it's now up to them to prosecute this case.
Romance walked in and putting on the show that attorneys do. I'm thinking Romance can blow all the smoke he wants. He can't blow this up because every police officer that I talked to said, you got the best case in the nation.
There are so many things that just seem very inconsistent with the portrayal that the police and the prosecution was trying to make.
It was very important to me to make sure that we followed all the way through and that he was found guilty.
The police think every case is a slam dunk, and which is why the police's version is what's put out to the media. As we've learned over the last 2 years or whatever with the social justice protest and George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and cell phone cameras, the police's version of what happened is almost never what actually happened.
We have David Stewart in-line purchasing the Colin High. We have David Stewart entering the Walmart on the day that the Massachusetts Cops had purchased wearing CCA security type uniform. We have David Stewart identified from these photos from the warden at his jail where he worked. If that's not enough evidence to convict somebody, I don't know what is.
The Walmart video was really kind of portrayed as the
Gotta
bombshell,
have
the irrefutable evidence of guilt.
the voice.
Could it be David Stewart? Sure, it could be David Stewart. But beyond a reasonable doubt, is it David Stewart?
Gotta have his voice.
That's all bull
Evidence.
crap. I mean, you can still look at Stewart and tell that's still Stewart.
It's him. Not like, there's no question about it. Perfect match.
Okay.
But even with that, the rest of the evidence was so inconsistent. That to me was not even close to sufficient evidence in the case.
We went through his work schedule. Every time a call was made that we could track down, we could show that he was not at work. He was available to make this call. And he was very familiar with the area where some of these calls were made from. One guy was nearby, a payphone where he used to deliver gas.
There were some of those calls that David Stewart had an alibi, that they could not refute. His wife testified that, they had a set schedule, and when she worked, he was to pick up the kids. Our investigation uncovered that Stewart did not make them.
We had a guy driving all over the place. He might make a phone call from this payphone, and then later he might make a phone call from another payphone. The caller is using calling cards, and he thinks nobody will track him down.
He happened to be in the store when the calling cards purchased. We had a near confession. We were this close from him admitting this. He goes, "Thank God it's over." That was it. Didn't say another word. But the fifth, done.
When the police interrogate you for a period of time and you never admit to committing a crime, and then finally they're done questioning you, and you say, "Thank God this is over," that has a lot more to do with the police interrogating you than it does, a confession to a crime.
All I'm thinking, if it's not David Stewart, who is it? Because the facts are there. The evidence is there.
Part of the prosecution's case was that David is this Svengali mastermind con man who can convince people to do things over the telephone that they wouldn't ordinarily do. It's just wholly inconsistent with, the person that David Stewart had been his entire life.
His lawyer painted that story that he...
All right. Well, I got 6 minutes left. All right, let's run the 6 minutes. And I'll probably give out my final thoughts of this shit. I mean, y'all should already know. But shit crazy. You know what? Nah, I'm tired. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to do that. Oh, shit. I forgot. This remote's fucked up. Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know what's gonna happen in the last 6 minutes. But I'm tired. It's Christmas Eve, and I gotta go to work. Do my 3 to 11 shift. Don't pick up the phone. It's, I think I'm off it now. Third gang.